The Cincinnati Reds brought in not one, but two new outfielders today, and it leaves us asking the question, what in the world is Nick Krall doing?
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Reds, every single day, and we are now the #1 sports podcast network in the country. I want to thank you for helping us make that happen. Hi, my name is Jeff. His name's Steve. We are lifelong Cincinnati Reds fans. We've been podcasting about this team for a combined 14 seasons, and we want to see the Reds get better this offseason, and that's why Saturday was so freaking frustrating. We're going to get into all of that. A little bit later on, we're going to ask and answer the question, are the Reds done? Is this it? We'll dive into that later on. In a few minutes, we will look at why this feels so familiar. We're going to do a blind resume thing with 7 different players who could be playing in the outfield for the Reds this year. Get ready for that. But we're going to begin with the 2 new outfielders that the Reds have added in Dane Myers and in JJ Bleday, all on today's podcast that is brought to you by FanDuel. Get in on the live NFL betting action today. Download that FanDuel app right now. All right, Steve, the Reds have added Dane Myers and JJ Bleday. JJ Bleday was a free agent signing, 1 year, $1.4 million. Dane Myers, they traded Ethan O'Donnell for. He is a minor league outfielder that the Reds had, and quite frankly, if you know Ethan O'Donnell, then you know more about the Reds minor league system than I do, because that was an interesting move in and of itself. It seems like either one is very low risk, either one doesn't really stretch the Reds all that much, and neither one really moves the needle in a positive direction.
So I'm trying to live up to our brand, which is we are of the Reds non-team affiliated podcasts. We are the glass half full guys, right? We're a little bit more optimistic than most. So I want to start with Dane Myers, because if you look at Dane Myers and you squint, you can find a way where this is a bit of an upgrade in the outfield in certain regards. From a pure hitting standpoint, if he is platoon only, meaning never, ever, ever, never, ever let this guy ever face right-handed pitchers. I mean, never. But if you platoon him and he's a left-handed, right-handed batter facing a left-handed pitcher, his splits, Jeff, his career split OPS plus, I know that's a lot of words, is 149. Basically, if you're looking at platoons, him as the right-handed half of a platoon is 49% better than league average. I'll take that. I'll say that is help to this lineup. But there's not a lot of positivity after that, Jeff. It is really a lot more rinse and repeat. It's a flawed player that you have to use in limited circumstances that's not going to bring a lot of power to this lineup, that's not going to help them score a whole lot of runs. He'll get on base if he's facing left-handed pitchers. But beyond that, it's hard to find much more nice things to say.
He's a guy that everydayers will remember. And actually I had a few people reach out and be like, hey, did you want this guy like around the trade deadline? And I did. I think that there's definitely some value to be had in him. My biggest concern, though, is with how 2025 ended, because he fell off a cliff performance-wise. He played the most games he's ever played in one season in his career in 2025, and he put together the worst performance. Well, okay, so he had a 70 OPS plus his rookie season in 2023, but also he's going to be 30 years old. We're not like talking about a dude that just broke into the major leagues and all of a sudden he's got a long runway here to figure some things out. He's kind of is who he is. And so that's what really concerns me with Dane Myers. On the JJ Bleday side of things, it's a little bit more of the same of what we hear with just about every Reds acquisition these days is, well, he was good. And quite frankly, he was good in one season. He had a 2.1 WAR in 2024. He had an OPS plus of 120. He hit 20 bombs and he slugged 437. He had a nice slash line in 2024. In 2025, and quite frankly, even in 2023 and 2022, when you look at his performances as a whole, they are just very uninspiring. This is a guy that so he has 404 career games. If you cut out the 159 in 2024, he's got a batting average career under 200, and he's got an OPS of just around 600. We're not talking about a really inspiring ad here. Like, I just don't know what Nick Krall was looking at with these two guys.
This one really is what made me say, like, what is Nick Krall doing? Because I don't know. I don't understand why this was appealing at all. This is not an upgrade. This is, if this team is ready to move on from Will Benson, if this team's ready to wash its hands of Will Benson, I look at these numbers. Will Benson was better last year. Will Benson was better than this guy last year.
And I know how hard you have to think to say that, because I know you don't want to.
I mean, really, if this is the guy that you're looking to pencil in and give significant playing time to, my question is why? If you're using and these two moves came together. If this is how Nick Krall is envisioning some type of platoon, why in the world would you want to bring in this as part of your platoon? I would give those at bats to Spencer Steer. I would do something different than this.
Well, and to be honest, like, even when you look at Dane Myers, he's pretty good with the glove. He's got a nice arm and all this. JJ Bleday isn't. He is not a good defender in every single year of his career, which isn't a lot. It's only 4 years. I mean, dude's just 28 years old. But in every single year, he has posted negative defensive runs saved and negative outs above average at all three outfield positions. Now, he's played all three outfield positions, and I'm sure that Nick Krall will be telling us that whenever he meets with the media to explain why he likes these deals. He is a little bit like, sort of Swiss Army knife in the outfield, but it's like really squinting hard, and it's not great. And he's not great on the base paths. His platoon splits, where we talked about Dane Myers and he mashes left-handed pitching, JJ Bleday just kind of doesn't have really splits. Like, he's just sort of mediocre across the board.
104. His OPS plus split is 104.
Will Benson mashes righties much better than that.
Just for comparison, to compare him to Will Benson, Jeff, Will Benson's slightly better. Will Benson's 109. So
it's not like you're losing miles better.
It's not miles better, but you're losing points. And Will Benson hits for much more power.
It just feels like we're doing more of the same. That when we go to answer questions in the offseason, we bring in other question marks to try to answer the questions. And that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. It just kind of feels like circular reasoning. And I'm sure that somebody's probably saying, look, it's low risk. It's $1.4 million for JJ Bleday, and you gave up somebody that you don't really know that much about to get Dane Myers. And you're not wrong. They're low risk. But that's all that Nick Krall ever seems to do. Is low risk, possibly high reward, probably more so just a mid move, because he's not risking it.
And can I ask, how in the world with a straight face is Nick Krall going to be able to look at a camera and talk to this fan base? And you've gone from Kyle Schwarber and his 50 plus home runs to you're talking to me about how JJ Bleday and Dane Myers are going to be the guys that make this franchise better? Are you freaking kidding me?
Oh,
with a straight face, how can you possibly do that?
They're going to sell tickets because everybody loves a guy named JJ. And then, Dane.
It rhymes.
Got a fun name
Bleday. It rhymes.
JJ Bleday. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, that's the thing. Like, we're starving for moves here, right? We're starving for the Reds to go out and make this team better. And it just feels like they've been running in place on Saturday, even though they were busy. They were running in place and they were busy. And that's where this gets so annoying, because all of this stuff just kind of seems to keep the Reds right where they were, because it sort of feels very similar to each other. I'm going to give you a blind resume and show you just how similar this all looks, because it's NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment, you can have fun over on FanDuel, because live betting is the best when the game starts to shift and you see the change for the home team or the change for the underdog. A receiver might get hot, or maybe the defense really tightens up. You just flip on a turnover, all the great stuff. You can check that all out on FanDuel. In fact, if you're listening to this before Sunday's game, the Bengals are favored by 7 points over the Cardinals. And honestly, if they hit that, then that just means that they're making their draft position worse. So what are they doing? But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interesting live lines for the Bengals and Cardinals on Sunday afternoon. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your day. Thanks for making us your first listen, and so much more. Nice weekend episode of Locked On Reds, as they are so busy that we felt like we had to really break it all down and let you know exactly what's going on, because you're just like us. You live the Reds every single day. Now take it up a notch and go ad free. Check out the Locked On Reds Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonreds.supercast.com and find out more. It's $5 a month, or $50 for the entire year. You can pay for an entire year, get 2 months for free. That's lockedonreds.supercast.com. Link is in the description of today's episode below. All right, Steve, with the additions of JJ Bleday and Dane Myers, the Reds now have more options in the outfield. They've got a lot of options. There are 3 positions that they need to fill. And I want to do a blind resume. And I know we do these sometimes, and I love to do these and spring these on you. I kind of told you a few of the answers already. But I want you to look at the blind resume, and I want for folks on YouTube to watch this, and we'll kind of lay it out for our folks listening on audio as well. Who would you pick? The 3 of these 7 players that you would pick to be your outfield, because player A has 488 games played in his career, and he has an OPS plus of 101. Player B has played 461 games in his career. He has a OPS plus of 104. Every other option on this list is under 100 for OPS plus. And as we've told people before, OPS plus is an all-inclusive statistic about hitting, where 100 is league average. So obviously you want to be above that. The Reds have 7 guys, 5 of which are all below that.
Yeah, I look at this list, Jeff, and obviously I want to keep players A and B. The only 2 players on this list with OPS plus is over 100. And then you get into the rest, and it's a mixed bag. It doesn't matter, I don't think, who you take as your next outfielder out of the rest of these guys. I think I'm probably taking the high on base guy and taking player G, just hoping to get somebody on, and maybe you run into an extra run scored. Player G with a 332 on base percentage. Not a lot of slugging there, but gets on base a lot. 96 OPS plus. So I think that's where I'm rolling with, and maybe we keep 99 and call it a day.
The ironic part of this is, so player A is Spencer Steer with the 101 OPS plus and 488 games played. Player B, TJ Friedl with a 104 OPS plus and 461 games played, also 344 on base, best of the group. Player G, who you picked as your 3rd guy, 552 games played. There's a reason that I did player G for this guy. Gavin Lux is the guy with the 332 OPS, or 332 on base percentage there, 96 OPS plus, and the 99 OPS plus. That's JJ Bleday, and that's your 4th outfielder there. It just feels like, though, Steven, the reason that I did this now, okay, brand new guy, Dane Myers, just traded for. He's player H with the 80 OPS plus on 172 games. Like we said, he is a platoon guy. Don't bat him against right-handed pitching. You only bat him against left-handed pitching. But I did the blind resume to show you've got all these guys, and quite frankly, you could about throw them up as a dart against a dartboard, and just whoever sticks, that's who you put in the lineup for the day, because it just doesn't seem like outside of Spencer Steer and TJ Friedl, you've really got anybody inspiring.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, we've kicked around. We know the things that Nick Krall's already going to say. You've hinted on them some already. Guys were good, high draft picks, had a good year, all of the things. But at the end of the day, Nick Krall's going to look at a group of beat writers that are not going to press him very hard at all. about these acquisitions, and they're not going to ask him the question, how in the world can you be serious about this when you were first chasing a guy that led the world in home runs and you're going to give him $25 million. And now you're bringing in dudes that are going to do it for like some free trading cards and a coupon to the Sizzler. This is not what needs to happen in order to make this team better. I'm stuck in a place, Jeff, where I keep asking myself, is this team better than, less than, or equal to the Reds that finished the season in 2025? And I keep coming up with this team is worse than the team that finished the season in 2025. These moves do not make them better. The additions by subtractions plus re-additions to the bullpen's probably okay, but you take this group as a whole, this team is not better.
The interesting part about the bullpen with this is that with these two moves, the Reds actually got rid of two bullpen players, DFAing both of them. They DFA'd Keegan Thompson, which was the guy that they signed at the beginning of the offseason to a major league deal, which we were a little bit hesitant to really get excited about because he's not a guy that's ever really shown anything in his career, but it's like, hey, he could be an option as a middle relief guy. And then they also DFA'd Lyon Richardson, who I kind of thought at times showed interesting stuff last year, has to get better with the walk, of course, but
and he might actually get picked up by somebody. Like, say he may go somewhere. This won't be one of those where he just like re-signs with a minor league deal with the Reds or whatever. Like he may go somewhere.
And I've got an interesting thought about that because I've written a couple of articles. We got some stuff. We're going to be talking about this next week. I got an interesting question for you regarding that philosophy that you just put out there. But I wonder about what they're doing here because it seems as though, and look, you could probably say, I'll throw up the blind resume thing again here. Like player D, 354 games. He has the second best slugging percentage of this group at 419, a career OPS plus of 93. That's Will Benson. And you can say with these moves, it's very likely he's not going to be on this list here. And it's probably not the biggest thing in the world that he's not, because like you take him off this list, the list doesn't get worse. But at the same time, like the list didn't get better because they added those other two guys. So I feel like we have, done the whole, what's that, the gif from that movie, The Interview, that you had James Franco going same, but different, but same, right. Like same, different, same. Like that's what this feels like right now for this roster. And I wonder if something else is coming.
Well, I sure hope so, Jeff, because if this is it, if Nick Krall and Phil have had a post-trade bourbon up there in the offices at Joe Nuxall Way and are like, well, we did it. Mission accomplished. Season's ready to go. Let's start packing for Goodyear. If that conversation has happened, oh boy, we're in trouble for 2026. But I look at that list that you put together of the outfielders there, Jeff. And the one thing that's interesting about Will Benson is he does have options left. They could stash him in Louisville. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen with Will Benson. He's going to be the insurance policy this year, which is unfortunate because I don't think that JJ Bleday is better. And it pains me to say, if I have to pick from the two, I'm picking Will Benson and pairing him up with Dane Myers. And that's going to be my left fielder. Those two together, barring injury, all season long. And I don't know what you do with JJ Bleday then, because you've got to carry the extra outfielder for the platoon. So I don't understand. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So, man, I hope you're right. I hope something's coming.
Yeah, because if something isn't coming, well, then – yeah, this offseason is going to be quite a slog.
In the midst of basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building, the crowd, the energy, the moment you can't get while you're watching the game from your couch. The only problem is getting the tickets. It is a big hassle, waiting in queues, not knowing exactly what it is you're going to pay. The list goes on and on and on. But Game Time solves those problems. They've eliminated the hassles. They've eliminated the long queues, and you know exactly what you're going to pay. Game Time is a game changer. It puts the advantage back with the fans. It gives you complete control of getting those NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love the Game Time app. If you've never been to the stadium before or the venue before that you're going to, you get the view from your seat. You know exactly what it is you're getting, and you know exactly what it is you're going to pay with all-in pricing. the price you see is the price that you are going to pay. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets today with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Now, terms do apply, but again, just download that Game Time app, create your account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. If you can't watch us here on YouTube, guess what? We're on every single audio podcasting app in existence, pretty much. So we can go anywhere you can go. Take us on the road, take us in the car, take us to the gym, take us to work with you. Wherever you need us to be, we can be there for you, giving you great Reds content all season long and all year long. All right, Jeff, let's get into this because we've teased at it. We've hinted at it. We've asked it a couple times and not really answered it. Are the Reds done? Is this it? On the surface, looking at these moves, if you didn't know what you knew about the Cincinnati Reds, you would say, well, this can't be it. There's got to be something else coming if this team is serious about being a postseason contender. Now, when you factor in what we know about these Cincinnati Reds, they might be done.
And that's the really disconcerting part about all of these, because I'm sure that there are people that are saying, like, look, this is low risk. I'm not worried about it. I don't know why you guys are so worried about it. This is why we're so worried about it. It's because we think that this is it. Like, I want to be the optimistic Reds fan here and say, no, they are building for something bigger, but I just don't see it. I don't think that this precludes them from going and getting another guy, but we know who we're dealing with here. I mean, these two moves in and of themselves, Steve, I don't think added any payroll, because I know that they signed Keegan Thompson to a major league deal, so they're getting rid of that. And then I believe that Dane Myers was on the league minimum. He has not yet hit arbitration. So you're talking about the fact that they added $1.4 million in JJ Bleday and $800,000 in Dane Myers. So barely over $2 million. And then if you get Keegan Thompson off the books, you get Lyon Richardson off the books, that basically pays for it, because Lyon Richardson was making the league minimum too. So I don't know how this would preclude them from doing anything. And yet we know who we're talking about here. And I've seen questions. Like, oh, does this stop them from going and getting Luis Robert? Does this mean that they're going to trade TJ Friedl? Does this mean that they're going to trade Spencer Steer? And quite frankly, if any of those are affected by these moves, then I'm really worried for what this roster is going to look like next year.
Yeah, you would be losing a lot of production. You would be losing your only two outfielders with an OPS plus over 100 and bringing in guys that, you know, I just don't know. Let me ask you this. If they did go get Luis Robert, would it change your opinion of the offseason at all? You and I have been, this is one of those where we've been split on this for a long time. You've been pro go get Luis Robert for a while now, depending on what the price is. And I have been like, I really don't care what the price is. I don't think he moves the needle. And for me, even if they were to complete a deal with the White Sox now and bring Robert in here, I'm grading this offseason as an F.
I see. I don't disagree with you at all on that regard. I think if they bring in Luis Robert, I would give him a C. And it depends on the deal, obviously, as to what the trade would look like. But I really like the upside of Luis Robert. And it feels like there's lower risk than I initially expected. I was looking at a Q&A on MLB Trade Rumors, and I believe that they're a little bit more connected than others when it comes to their knowledge of, you know, different rumors and things like that for the offseason. And somebody asked them if the White Sox would get Chase Petty in return for a Luis Robert deal. And the guy doing the Q&A, and I forget his name, I should have wrote it down. But the guy doing the Q&A for MLB Trade Rumors said Chris Getz, who is the guy who is in charge of the White Sox front office, would do that deal right now if Chase Petty's on the table, but he's not, because Luis Robert has been so bad, and there's a huge gap between what the White Sox want for him and what everyone else in the league is offering for him. And so he's like, I don't think that a deal is close, let alone do I think that the Reds are close to getting Luis Robert, because everyone values him differently based on how the White Sox value him. So it seems like if the Reds are going to get Luis Robert, it's going to be a deal that we're much more okay with. But at the same time, I don't necessarily know that adding Luis Robert to this makes the offseason completely okay and fine, because he's got his own question marks too. I just feel better about the offseason as a whole.
He's another deal that comes with the opening line of, I hope he goes back to being the guy he was however many years ago it was. 2 years. I don't have him pulled up, but I think it was 2 years ago that he was pretty good. 3 years ago. He was good 3 years ago. It's another deal that starts with, I hope. And these are the problems. I hope that Dane Myers only faces left-handed pitching. I hope that Bleday is actually a real guy. I don't know. I'm saying that these are not the kind of moves that a team that struggled but managed to get into a wild card spot in a division that is getting better, including the hapless Pittsburgh Pirates getting better and only the Cardinals getting out of the way. I would say that this is not how a serious front office would act.
I'd say the middle of the division is getting better. I don't think the top got better. I think the top might have gotten worse, arguably, or at least stayed the same.
It depends on what happens with the Cubs. I mean, I don't think they're going to re-sign Tucker, but if for some reason they re-signed Tucker, then what are you going to do? I mean,
but it just, where are you going to go? It just feels like this offseason has constantly been like every move that the Reds have made. It's constantly me asking a question of, is this really an answer? And like I tweeted this out, and I'll ask you this, like, how many times have we seen the phrase Reds make a low risk move that has potential, versus how many times we've seen the phrase the Reds just made a good move?
But see, and herein lies the problem. It's not that those moves are bad ideas. It's not that those moves aren't something you should take a flyer on, and maybe, you catch lightning in a bottle and a guy rebounds and we finally see that guy that comes to Great American Ballpark and has a renaissance. Fine. But that can't be what your team is built around. Those moves are supposed to be the icing on the cake. Those moves are supposed to be the extra little bonus that you get that takes you from being a, 89 win team to a 92 win team. Those aren't the moves that are supposed to take you from 82 wins to 88 wins. It just doesn't work like that. And it seems like that's all Nick Krall knows how to do.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. In fact, that was something that I meant to put at the top of the show, and we kind of buried it because we got into other stuff about the deals, is that it feels like we said this last offseason when the Reds went and they traded for Gavin Lux and they made some other deals and they added a couple of other pieces, and you're just like, okay, cool. These feel like nice little footnotes. We're just waiting on
where's the
main
centerpiece
story.
Where's the centerpiece? Where's the centerpiece?
And it never happened. And now we're in that same place. Time is a flat circle. We're right back where we started from last offseason. And it's like, are we going to get something that makes sense here, or is this it? And I hate to be that guy and say it, but knowing who we're dealing with here, this feels like it's it. And that's what is so disconcerting about all of this.
Yeah. Time's going to tell if the Reds make another move or not. No matter what they do.
I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
I do too. But no matter what they do, you guys can count on Jeff and I to be here for you all off season long, whether they make a move or not. We're going to keep telling you about this team. So thanks as always for making Locked On Reds your first listen each and every day. We'll be back in your feeds on Monday, maybe talking about this Lyon Richardson move. I'm a little perplexed at some of the giving up on the pitching, and I think Jeff has some things to say about that. So we'll get into that on Monday's show. Again, thanks for making us your first listen. You can follow us on social media. You can follow Jeff on Twitter X. That's Jeff Carr, Jeff with 3 Fs. You can follow me at S. Offenbaker. You can follow the show at Locked On Reds. There's no Fs in that. For the video folks, stick around. We're going to send you over to Locked On's first ever 24/7 national YouTube channel, covering all the sports all the time. And for the audio folks, go check out Locked On MLB as your second listen, because Sully, as always, is doing great work over there. He'll have you covered from a national perspective on Major League Baseball. Until next time, we'll be keeping you locked on Reds every single day.
Gonna go have a steak.
I just listen. I keep with these additions. I keep thinking maybe I'm going to get an invite to spring training. I can play a little right field. I can do it, man.
Just give me free memorabilia. That's all I need.
I listen, I will sign for league minimum. Nick, I will sign for league minimum.